Greetings, my friends. Evangelist Joey Bellmore here once again for another Signs of the Times report for December the 10th, 2015. And as we always do, we'll start off reporting on the earthquakes around the world. And we'll start with this piece, talking about how there was a strongly felt earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.7 that struck near the city of Escuintla in south-central Guatemala, not far from the capital, according to seismologists. And in this report, we see that a magnitude earthquake of 7.1 struck over there off of Indonesia's Ambon Island, as it goes on to report on this quake in this piece, which I will link in the description box below with everything else I show you in the video as usual. And another report here of a 5.7 earthquake that struck just off of Fiji, according to seismologists, so another quake over there. And of course, as we always do, I'll go in for a live look-in on the latest earthquakes around the world. I'm over here on the European Mediterranean Seismological Center for the global earthquakes, and we'll go starting with today and all the quakes that were reported today. This is, I only report on magnitude 4 or greater unless, a magnitude of lesser, like a 3-point-something hits in an area where that is more significant. Like we had a 3.7 here, which was pretty significant because we never have earthquakes over here. So, that's the only time I'll report on anything under a 4. And even 4 is pretty normal in most regions of the world, especially in some of these areas that are on major fault lines and what have you. But it's still signs of geological processes that are occurring. And so we see all the quakes here, many magnitude 4s, but we see magnitude 5.4 offshore of Male, Chile. We also have here it is, a 5.7 over in the South Sandwich Islands region. And you can see other areas here with 4.9, 4.8, and what have you. So certainly the seismicity globally is still ongoing. And for the most part, that's normal, but we have seen an increase in seismic activity in recent years. And as I often allude to, that's one of the signs that Jesus said would come to pass in the end times shortly before his coming. He said there would be earthquakes in diverse places, and certainly we are seeing the beginning of this, I believe. Meanwhile, in the midst of all the storm activity going on over there in the Pacific Northwestern United States, we have seen reports of sinkholes coming across the wire. And we see here Highway 22 over in a city over in Oregon. Highway 22 in Yamhill County is remaining closed after heavy rain eroded the highway and created a large sinkhole. So it mentions that the highway is closed about 2.5 miles east of Dolph Junction in Yamhill County. The sinkhole stretches across the highway and is believed to be 5 feet deep, and you see a shot of it here. And there was also another sinkhole that opened up in Gresham, Oregon, and I'll play the news coverage for you here. I'll disregard the ad there.
That's a giant sinkhole just opened up near Northeast 23rd and Kane. The problem spot is where Kelly Creek runs underneath the road. KGW's Mike Benner is there live for us tonight. That doesn't look good, Mike.
Oh, it doesn't at all, Tracy. Let me step out of the way here, and you might be able to tell in the dark the sinkhole that is across Kane right there. Several blocks of Northeast Kane closed right by Mount Hood Community College as crews try to shore things up. As you mentioned, Sky 8 was overhead before dark. Take a look at the big sinkhole. Witnesses tell us the sidewalk went first, then 2 northbound lanes of Kane followed. One kid we caught up with said it felt like a small earthquake. Listen.
We were watching it, and all of a sudden it just collapsed in, and we just freak out, and then people were like going crazy, and then more people came, and it was really scary, and it's tragic.
Yeah, to our knowledge, nobody was hurt. That's the good news. Now for the bad news, the repair work out here could take hours. So I'd avoid this area if you can. Back to you.
And moving along, in other news, we're going to look at some volcanic activity around the globe now. And starting with this piece, talking about how a new explosion of ash occurred at the Turrialba volcano over in Costa Rica. And it says here that an ash explosion at the Turrialba volcano lasted for about 10 minutes. And it says here that this is the second event this month after another explosion recorded on December the 7th also spewed ash and gases into the air. It says experts from the University of Costa Rica's National Seismological Network and Volcanological, say that 3 times fast, Observatory have reported the explosion reached just under 400 meters in height. Meanwhile, over in Crimea, we see that a mud volcano has erupted near Leninsky. It says here an eruption of a mud volcano has occurred in the Leninsky district of Crimea near the village of Novoselovka. Mentions the mass of soil stopped at a distance of 100 meters from the village. The information was announced at a meeting in the interagency staff on eliminating the consequences of the emergency situation caused by the energy crisis. And it says here that one of the head administrators has made a request to send experts to the area in order to assess the current situation. Meanwhile, I'd been reporting a lot on Storm Desmond, and apparently it has brought a Malham Cove waterfall back to life for the first time in hundreds of years. And it says here the stunning cascade is believed to be England's highest waterfall while it lasts. So pretty cool stuff here. That used to be a massive waterfall apparently, and after this storm, some pretty breathtaking shots there. However, I'll link you up with the piece.
None of us in the village who have lived here all our lives have ever seen before.
Once in a lifetime, waterfall at Malham Cove.
And more news over in Oregon here, as we see that heavy rains have drenched Portland, according to this report from a couple days ago. And it says that northwest Oregon has experienced flooding, landslides, and a sewer overflow. And that's not to mention the couple sinkholes that we had reported from Oregon as well. So I'll go ahead and play this for you really quick.
Very heavy rains have turned the streets of Portland, Oregon into creeks and have forced several evacuations. The downpours triggering landslides, forcing road closures. Local businesses also shut down. Schools have been letting out early. The high waters caused the city's sewer system to overflow. That's never good, into the nearby river. Officials warning people to avoid it for at least 48 hours. A flood watch remains in effect for much of the northwest region of Oregon, with the onslaught expected to continue into the weekend.
More flooding news here. This report comes from southern Norway, as apparently record rainfall has caused severe flooding over there. It mentions that severe flooding has been reported in parts of southern Norway after heavy rain brought by Storm Sini between December the 4th and 6th. And it mentions here that the area saw just under 300 millimeters of rain in 3 days. It mentions that no injuries or deaths have been reported, so that's always a good thing. It says, however, the flooding has caused some damage to roads, bridges, and homes, and, landslides and sinkholes, as similar situation of what happened over there in Oregon. And so we'll see some video of some of the flooding over there, and you can see a friggin' house being washed away there. Pretty dangerous conditions, and my prayers obviously go out to anyone affected by this and any of the other ongoing disasters around the world. Meanwhile, a tragic set of circumstances regarding flooding over in Congo, as apparently 31 people have been killed in 3 weeks. As it says here, at least 31 people have died in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Kinshasa, in the last 3 weeks, in the worst flooding in years, the provincial interior minister said on Tuesday, warning conditions could get even worse. So, pretty devastating circumstances over there as we see more reports of torrential rains causing flooding, and in this case, taking the lives of 31 people in just 3 weeks. So, certainly want to send my prayers out to the families who have been affected in this particular event. And here we have some reports of more meteor sightings or fireballs up in the skies, and we see here that this one was in Edmonton, Canada, as a meteor apparently lit up the sky over there. And I don't believe this, I believe that was an image, but there's a video here of it, and I'll play it for you. Hopefully there's no ads going to pop up. Oh, of course.
On a great weekend?
Okay.
You had an eye on the sky last night a few hours after sunset. You likely saw a fireball light up the sky. It startled people in Saskatoon and throughout much of central and southern Saskatchewan, leaving many wondering what was going on. So with that, we're going to bring in meteorologist Peter Quinlan to help us unravel the mystery of what exactly so many people witnessed last night. Peter?
Wendy, this fireball's journey started 10 to 20,000 years ago when a comet broke up into tiny pieces that now orbit the sun, and every November around this time, our planet crosses that debris field, and some of those tiny pieces of rock enter into our atmosphere, traveling at speeds of up to 72,000 kilometers per hour. Most of them burn up right away, but the one we had on Sunday night did much more than that.
Some people have reported windows shaking, and so maybe some sort of a sound event, perhaps a sonic boom, I'm not sure, but something might have, certainly a very loud bang was associated with this object, so that means it at least partially broke up at that particular time.
So at approximately 8 p.m. last night, my wife Nicole and I were going down to River Landing to take some video and some stills, and she looks up in the sky and sees this kind of fireball. It had this green glow coming off the back of it, and then it turned orange. And we basically had about 5 seconds to decide what to do, so I had my camera there and I literally pushed the shutter 3 times, and out of those 3 shots we got one.
It was also a lucky catch for another photographer in the southeastern corner of the province.
I had the camera set on the tripod, set it on the ground, pointed it at the Big Dipper, and hit the cable release, and like I said, 2 seconds later, boom.
A common reaction that people make when they see these bright fireballs, quite often people observe one of these and it's so incredibly bright that they are convinced that it landed in a field maybe a half a mile from where they were located, but in reality it could actually be several hundred miles away.
And because they are so difficult to locate, the University of Saskatchewan is asking for any photos or videos to be sent to them to help them track the exact path of the fireball, and it will also help search for any potential debris if that meteor did make it to the ground. Now, the torrid meteor shower does continue for a few more days, so you still have the...
So there you have it. I'll link you up to the piece, and we'll move on here to another meteor sighting, also in Canada, but this one, instead of on the west coast over there, or closer to the west coast in Edmonton, this one here is over in the east coast, in Nova Scotia. As the title of this piece says, bright lights draw attention in Nova Scotia sky. It says some observant Nova Scotians were treated to an unexpected light show Sunday that left many in awe. It mentions reports of sightings were spread over a large area with similar descriptions, leading to many think that it was a meteorite. It goes on to talk a little bit more about that here, and I don't believe there's any video, but you see a shot here, I believe that's of the meteor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and this was captured near Halifax, so that one is a pretty good shot. Even through the trees, you clearly see it. So, again, I'll link you up with this piece as well. Now, in other news, another thing I keep my eye on is the Hosea 4:3 prophecy, in which it talks about how the beasts of the field would perish, and the fishes of the sea would be taken away, and the fowl of the air. And we consistently have been watching this and watching the trend increase and intensify over the course of time, as there have been over 800 mass animal die-offs that were known and recorded here in 2015 in over 94 countries. So this piece here talks about a report over in, according to, it says here, Germany reports H5N2 avian bird flu outbreak. And it says here, district officials reported the outbreak in a press release, which said that culling at the affected farm was expected to be completed on Monday, December the 7th, together with disinfection measures. It goes on to mention the district's press release described the affected farm as a company with about 12,900 animals, including laying hens, ducks, geese, and turkeys. So we see it mentions here 12,900 were culled, and it says here that it's unclear whether the German outbreak is linked to the recent outbreaks in France, where the serotype of the virus involved has yet to be confirmed. And it says, however, the locations of the two regions involved are very far apart, so they may be unrelated. Nonetheless, more animal die-offs here. Thousands of birds were also killed in Vietnam due to an avian flu outbreak, as we see here. Thousands of chickens had to be culled to prevent a bird flu outbreak. It mentions health authorities in the central province of Ngi An have culled more than 2,365 chickens after many of them were found infected with two dangerous strains of bird flu. And this last piece I want to finish off with, it may not qualify as a mass animal die-off, but I wanted to put it in the report anyways, as a great white shark has washed up on the Wrightsville Beach over in North Carolina, which is definitely a rare sight. And it mentions that they're going to be doing testing to see what the cause was. I'll link you guys up to it, but apparently this was a 10-foot deceased shark found near the Crystal Pier at the Oceanic Restaurant. So I'll link you guys up to everything I showed you. As these signs of the times continue, we'll continue to keep our eye on these many different world events as we continue to discern the signs of the times. So until next time, my friends, this is Evangelist Joey Bellmore signing off. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I suggest you invite Him into your heart and make Him Lord of your life today. So until next time, my friends, this is Joey signing off. God bless you. Earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.7 that struck near the city of Escuintla in south-central Guatemala, not far from the capital, according to seismologists. And in this report, we see that a magnitude earthquake of 7.1 struck over there off of Indonesia's Ambon Island, as it goes on to report on this quake in this piece, which I will link in the description box below with Greetings, my friends. Evangelist Joey Bellmore here once again for another Signs of the Times report for December the 10th, 2015. And as we always do, we'll start off reporting on the earthquakes around the world. And we'll start with this piece, talking about how there was a strongly felt everything else I show you in the video as usual. And another report here of a 5.7 earthquake that struck just off of Fiji, according to seismologists. So another quake over there. And of course, as we always do, I'll go in for a live look-in on the latest earthquakes around the world. I'm over here on the European Mediterranean Seismological Center for the global earthquakes. And we'll go starting with today and all the quakes that were reported today. This is, I only report on magnitude 4 or greater unless, a magnitude of lesser, like a 3-point-something hits in an area where that is more significant. Like we had a 3.7 here, which was pretty significant because we never have earthquakes over here. So That's the only time I'll report on anything under a 4, and even 4 is pretty normal in most regions of the world, especially in some of these areas that are on major fault lines and what have you, but it's still signs of geological processes that are occurring. And so we see all the quakes here, many magnitude 4s, but we see magnitude 5.4 offshore of Male, Chile. We also have there was another, here it is, a 5.7 over in the South Sandwich Islands region. And you can see